Hey everybody, this is Alexandrake, and once again we're playing the Ep10. Yeah, it's time, my dear boy, Sattery. I'm not exactly sure what happened to him, but I don't think it's any good. And I'm going to focus on that, as I believe he's the eye of petition well. I don't want to imagine a world without Sattery. I really don't. But now we're playing as Marianne, the apparently D&D enthusiast, designer for the Ep10 mansion. So apparently we've already met Ute before. We almost had a little shenanigans with him, Ute, in our apartment. But we decided not to do that because he's an asshole and I don't really give a damn about him. But apart from that, let's continue, shall we? Dude. Grabbed some fish and chips from one of those street food stalls. Nice. Found a table to spend time with a copy of Matwis de Sal, Triumphs of Yov since Rebecca Yef with the books I wanted. Nothing yet. I've read this one before, along with the rest of the words. This would have been the 18th time, in fact. But it's always nice to read through it then when I don't have time to enjoy something new. Besides, when you're dealing with people so filthy rich that they just end up paying filthy, you need the good old Matwis sound.
La blessure se trouvant sans aucune sorte de conséquence.
The wound being without any consequences. Of course, it's devoid of fainted fiends have no consequences when everything actually does. Dry Rotary Corporation, the Yachtsman's branch, isn't too far off from the city centre, just a few blocks away, and it's an easy to eat and walk. I'd rather use this time than the rest before I go into the fury of activity. No doubt there'll be so much to do once we get our hands on the mansion.
Still a lot better than working on another condo, at least.
Surely, no matter how much BRC and the old owners put into the restoration and preservation of the place, any bid repairs would be superficial at most. I'm quite certain that in the haste to sell the property, they did a rush job. Is an infrequent thing to do despite how it's frowned upon. There'll be a lot of hidden issues that we'll need to weed out, and I'll have to make sure I find every single one of them, especially the more serious damages. Structure integrity is definitely on top of the yes we all have to consider. The building might get sturdy, but it's centuries old. That alone will actually pose a few problems here and there. Put limitation to what we can do. Besides, despite how much I detest these rich snobs, you can pay rather handsomely, so you're honest I do an excellent job and do what is necessary. Those two things always made sure that referrals keep coming. I don't even have to hunt down projects for myself. When I do up to BRC's office, I can't help but stop and stare when I enter the building. Well, the our chosen employees should have been battle ready if they still aren't filtering through the doors. I did that on Saturday, that people don't probably feel tired and lazy to be working on the weekend, but they're still on the trot and not bumming about wasting company time or extended lunch breaks and cigarette sessions. The office is spacious, and as with these big corporations, each person is given their little space. It reminds me far too much of my last day at Portugal projects during the massive layoffs due to the Irish autonomy crisis. But it isn't just that, though. Everything is quiet as the grave, as if those people are merely ghosts. Oh, Isabella. Speaking of those, Santos comes in through the door, looking as if she's seen one. She hits me wide-eyed with the deer caught in the headlights, ready to bolt at any moment. I asked out of concern, but I feel it's not my position to do so. What if it's something personal or simply be overstepping my boundaries? Really, it's none of my business.
I presume that Miss Cooper told you why I'm here, Miss Santos?
So that yurt is like she's gonna kill someone. Am I wrong? That is the yurt of someone who's about to murder someone.
Huh? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I just got back from lunch, you know? But it won't take too long, don't worry.
Of course it won't. This whole project has established itself to be a matter done in haste. I do hope it doesn't mean that people are being careless in their duties.
She finishes and yet she doesn't quite know how to respond to that. Thankfully, instead of opening her mouth, she leads the way towards the station, those affects the Philippians. It won't take too long, she said, but it doesn't take a bit of time spent to compose herself emotionally.
You know, we usually just email these things.
I prefer the real thing.
Not that you would know. You probably have your nose stuck in front of your smartphone when you're not working, even when you should be working, playing those mindless addictive games. Hey! Don't be mean to Isabella. Don't you dare. I never knew wish Trish would stop praying that bat tat thingy during work hours too.
I know what you mean. Digital painting is nice, but nothing beats the smell of real paint. Not that I go and smell paint like a crazy person, but, you know, the real thing is different.
Oh, yes. It's a bit of a... Wait, what?
Yes, nothing is quite like the real thing.
Oh! This is tall. So the ballroom, the foyer, dining room, kitchen, dairy, music room. Oh, there's a music room. Parlour, basement, hall, quarters, hallway, bedroom, study, theatre. They have a theatre. What the damn hell? Chill out the floor plans. I see what I've got a lot of work doing for me. Now I know how Ray felt when he found the central part where it's building floor plans from that one movie. This is why I became an architect in the first place. The Jacobean style at its finest is a thing of beauty. You know, these gorgeous rooms, delicate harmony between empty spaces. Speaking of empty spaces, there's something rather odd about these ones.
I feel a bit silly saying it out loud because I've never lived in a big house, let alone a mansion. But during the tour, I had the distinct impression that the rooms were bigger.
Oh.
Maybe the scale is wrong? It's not much of a problem. And it is an old house.
There have been little details here and there that I would have liked to address during the open house too. Oh, okay. There's something, hidden stuff, I guess. But it's all forgotten in the weight of Miss Santos' incident and the trouble with ownership. The wine cellar is going to be a problem. I shudder to think of what sort of repairs they did to that place. There might have been things that went swept under the rug, pushed... You're very pessimistic. To the dark tone of the rooms and hidden away in barrels. Water damage should have been covered up. I do understand that you need to think all these things through, but... There have been floods due to heavy rains in West England, yes. Just last year, after all, and if there's any sort of damage to the house foundation, that's going to be a lot of work. I was not able to get to the attic as well, for all I know. A whole family of vermin should have made the nests there. Working with the pestro is always the worst. Okay, we had the idea. The sheer size of the space is staggering. Even when I did just say it was a lot smaller than I thought. I know it's might be a bit more than I can chew, but who doesn't know how to do a challenge, eh? But first things first, I have to...
So, do you want a coffee? The one from the staff room is pretty decent.
There's really no need. I'm sure you have rules against it.
Rules against bringing someone coffee? That's ridiculous. And even if there were regulations against it, nobody's really here to tell Sir John. I've already brought 2 mugs, and I'm not going to drink them on my own. Come on.
I have to stamp down my annoyance at being distracted. Seeing the dull young woman, though, it just shows she has a yacht on her mind. If babbling is her way of dealing with stray thoughts, I'm not really the one she should be babbling to. You have something to say? I don't have time for this. Oh. Isabella... Well, what would happen now? Because if Isabella is unconscious at this present moment, then this choice doesn't matter as such. And yes, she's fine, and then there's the final act where this affects how they work together as a team. Or maybe I'm just overthinking this, as I usually do. You have something to say? I don't know. I didn't have time to speak up. Hey! But when she just stares at you in my throat.
Yes? You have something to say?
Basil droops on her face, and I snatched one of the toffees from her and take a sip. Too hot.
Just thinking and speaking off the record, it must be fun what you do. You go to people's houses and you make them, well, pretty. You're sharing your art with them.
It's a little bit more complex than that. But if you put it that way, it is fun. I wouldn't have done it for 7 years if it wasn't a little bit fun, I guess.
These big clients always have paintings in their homes. Do you have a supplier for art pieces?
I didn't expect to hear such a question from her, seeing how well she handled herself yesterday. I didn't doubt then why she was assigned to an important cell at the Ermidot mansion despite that little incident she had. Now she just feels too young, too nervous, unsure of herself, although her enthusiasm must have made up for that in spades. In fact, I wouldn't have believed her if she had introduced herself the way she is at this moment. While watching her now, she actually looks like she should still be in Torridge. That's a bit idiotic too, when I think about it. Thought she was a teen, summing it out in the mansion when I first saw her there lying on the ground. Surprise, surprise, she turned out to be one of the estate agents handling the property. I don't even know what to make of the whole meltdown that happened with that strange document. If I were the client, I would have been very upset. She would be in hot water for it.
The clients usually support artists of their own choice. If they don't, I'm always happy to refer those that I know.
That's cool.
They're very picky. I don't think a hobbyist will have an easy time getting their work sold.
Hey, I'll have you know I was a student of the fine arts.
And yet, here you are, selling property. Maybe you weren't a very fine student of the arts.
Oh, maybe I took that a bit too far. She bites her cheek and yet she's just barely holding herself
It's
back.
not like I had a choice.
She mutters it under her breath. I barely even hear her. But the hurt is there. It makes one wonder what brought it on. Though it's understandable if I reason that what I think it is, very few people mating the bid in the art world. See why she'd be upset about it without enthusiasm. I didn't have a choice when I left Ireland. It was that or years of unemployment. The recession and the toll it took in the construction industry was out of anyone's control. I didn't know what choice she wasn't able to make whenever it was about being an art store and something else. But the world is on a fair place. And no sooner she accepted, but the better. I still with the Forion yet on her face, I can't help but sigh. The dough reminds me far too much of myself when I was younger.
Well, if you're thinking of commissioning your paintings, I'll have to see your work first.
Oh, it's not... I didn't mean it like that. I don't have any paintings.
Really? You sounded a lot like you still did art or want to. Now I'm starting to worry that you might just like the smell of paint.
I'm not a paint huffer, sheesh. I just mean I don't make much anymore. I don't really have the time for it. The tools and materials aren't exactly cheap either.
Everything has a price. It sounds like you're making excuses for something you're presumably passionate about. If you really want to practice art, a little out of your wallet isn't much.
Fair
It's
enough.
not that simple.
It's not. Life's simple. People just like to make it complex. Speaking off the
fair.
record, I have some advice for you,
Up to his
kid.
achievement.
Either go for what you want, or stop thinking about it when you have something else. That is unless you enjoy making yourself miserable, then by all means.
You know, if you wanted to look at the floor plans without me bothering you, you could have just said so.
Interesting advice though, actually. It's fair.
Would you have left me alone?
We'll never know now, will we?
Ah, no, I want to know. Strained air settles in the room afterwards. It doesn't help that she doesn't immediately leave, as she said, lingering auditory by the door without downcast expression. It shares more she means to say, perhaps even to defend herself and her choices in life. Or she expected me to dish out more of that advice. It's in order to fear, and I choose to hightail out of the reality office as quick as I can. Interesting, we didn't see that from Isabella's side of things. That's interesting. Though I am to keep myself professional at all times, does not mean I liked it. And seeing that most of the day is already done by without I realised it, I choose to head back to my flat instead. Despite today being a Saturday, no fun, but at least this way I can definitely avoid another unpleasant encounter. Considering how much I will be seeing Wisty in the near unforeseeable future, I have a feeling I'll need all the rest of the weekend up to div me. For the first time in a young while, excited as I am to work in the mansion, I cannot wait to be over and done with this project. Money shouldn't come any sooner. After taking the floor plans from Miss Santos the day before Yas, I spent most of my Sunday drawing up plans to tour in my suppliers. Although no design choices have been made yet, I'm quite sure that they want high-end appliances, the most expensive materials, and the most pretentious of everything. They usually did, these rich types, based from experience at least. Given how badly this whole thing started, wouldn't hurt to be prepared. I have to check myself, make sure I'm not playing with my gloves as one of the other building tenants takes the elevator up with me. Makes me self-conscious when the woman eyes do over me. I'm sure she was down to point out some perceived flaw in my physical appearance, but I'm saved from being paranoid when they went up a few floors later. Still, the ride up to my floor is nerve-wracking. The ride to the very top penthouse, the Tremdia Trem, when it comes to the condominium and urban living. Just getting access to the place is an ordeal of its own. I had to jump so many hoops, so many security checks just to secure a T-card, not even just the building management, but just the right personal security. Sometimes I felt I'm being interrogated for a tribe, not visiting its kind at the home. Even when their personal assistants called in to help me out to verify my presence, the process is aggravated rather than hasted. Speaking of the devil... Ah, Johans, you... chap. The elevator door opens and I'm greeted by none other than Whistly's not-so-little Yatu.
I do apologize if I kept Mr. and Mrs. Wright waiting, but I'm here now and I'm ready, so if I may, where are they?
They've just woken up, but they should be down soon. I'm surprised to see you made it through security. And only 5 minutes late.
You said I'd be through security soon, and it took half an hour. Define soon in this context.
I'd make myself comfortable if I were you. I'm going to go and put the kettle on.
About the tea, I don't want to intrude or anything.
The sir does not like being woken up by the whistling. But who am I to deny tea to a guest?
He shows me to the couch before drifting off towards the kitchen, quietly pouring out a teapot, cups, and all sorts of other things in preparation for tea. I ignore the animosity towards his employer that his words implied. I wouldn't be too surprised if Whistly's own people don't like him. Instead of the twilight and isolation instead, I brace myself for what's to come. In this case, soon apparently means more than 5 minutes or even 10. I sat in the living room just waiting. And when the kettle starts whistling and the tea has been served, I continue to wait. I used to signs his reaction. But then there's the trash. I nearly spilled the tea over my yap in surprise when I get up to expecting security to come running. Even the man at the kitchen counter continues to fix breakfast, yet he's heard nothing. I don't want to speak up about it because he gets far too absorbed in his cooking, and I don't want to be the cause of the burnt food or worse. However, there's something in me that just wants to figure out what that was, although I'm normally not this nosy. I'm going to continue waiting because I don't want there to be any consequences. Even though this is a consequence game, I'm just like, I kind of want to keep some characters alive, because at this point, Isabel and Sattery may be out of the game, and frankly, I don't want to use another one in case if there's some sort of final act where you need as many characters as possible. I guess I'm just making excuses to cover up my paranoia. Maybe. Or maybe I'm thinking far too ahead, that I'm a genius in this game. I'll you decide. I've no business with it. It's just people usually value the privacy above all else, after all. And yes, of course, they're posting pictures on social media, bragging about what good people they are, allowing themselves to be interviewed for some magazines. And then the whole reason I'm in this mess is because I don't give two shits about what goes on with the people at them. I'm not doing that taught snooping about and accused of some imagined wrongdoing. And not doing to be some busybody detective wannabe and run off to investigation, whatever that was. It's probably just something mundane anyway, you had a yam falling over. I'm just gonna sit here and wait for Mrs. Wright with my tea. And to preach science.
Could I at least put the telly on?
I don't really expect him to answer. If he hadn't heard the trash, I doubt he would have heard.
As long as you don't watch some silly soap opera.
Oh.
The LBC News would be fine. The William Walker show is on too if you prefer that. Not that I watch it, but my husband does.
Oh.
The remote is under the coffee table.
Oh, sure. Maybe I'll be lucky and catch the doc on. I heard they're having reruns of the classics and I want to see the second meet sixth in Spain. If not, just the news then. Thank you. I'll let you get on with your cooking now.
Did he just ignore the trash wilder then? Whatever. Pressing the remote, I turn the TV on the hopes of viewing the science. Trying to anyway because the thing won't turn on. And that make the science more awkward or what? I know I might not be the best with Ted, but I'm sure I can work a simple television remote.
Batteries must be dead.
Hello! I don't know what it says. What? There's blood everywhere. Help me. Oh, it does say help me. I thought it was an S. It says in red. That's not the dose, though. I get back in my own hands and find them keen, yet I can see the drizzly reflection gazing back at me. And though there's nothing staying in my skin, I can feel the sticky and warmed feeling of my blood dripping down my cheeks. I should be worried. Instead, I fear my intention drawn towards her. Her beautiful blonde hair, her soft hips with skin so fair and swaying hips. I want nothing more than to hold her, plant my lips on her neck, and to run my fingers through her hair. So, those who didn't use someone in the tragedy, the dose just terrorizes them and causes them to kill themselves. But those who have lost people, she uses them to traumatize themselves. Interesting. She laughs and smiles when she gets to me, but where are her eyes? Temptation is done in an instant. I recall horrified at this reaction I'm seeing, only to bat into something or rather someone. Oh! Miss Wright stands there, twirling a yacht of her blonde hair, a soft smile on her lips, and a hand on her hip. I almost bat away, but I drown and remain myself that this is my chance. Whatever I just saw, well, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to say that perhaps I'm just doing a bit deaf. It would be preferable, of course, to think that it was all trick of the eye to all the margins of an overactive imagination.
Good morning, Mrs. Wright. I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Have you been standing there long?
No, I just came down and saw you were having a hard time with the telly. We must have forgotten to change the batteries. Are you all right, dear? You're looking a bit pale. Haven't you had breakfast yet?
No, I'm fine. I had breakfast already, Mrs. Wright. I just need...
Well then, you mustn't have had enough breakfast.
Oh!
I'm all for a good diet, but that's the most important meal of the day.
This takes place during the conversation in the mansion, I'm guessing.
Johannes is cooking up pancakes. Pancakes will make anyone feel better, he always says. We can sit down and tuck in. You'll feel right as rain once we get some fluffy, syrupy goodness in you. And are you sure you're fine, Marianne? You're shaking.
You're down on my hands, I can see them trembling. Really, just because she gets so much lighter. Become a damn train wreck. Who is her? I've seen her in my dreams and hearing her voice ever since I met Miss Wright at the mansion. So many beyonds in the world, what was different with her? I would say I'm not feeling too well. Starting to go mad. Oh! That improved. Cool. No man I am. But there's work to be done. The chart isn't daring to stop titting wide or about having a breakdown. I should go to you, splash some water in my face, and snap out of it. I use it till the end of the day, if I can just yes, that's on.
I think I just need to excuse myself for a minute, if that's alright.
She places a hand on my arm, gentle as she should
What?
be.
No. What if you suddenly fall over or faint while you're all alone? You can just sit down right here and I'll go get you a glass of water.
Or would you like some beer? That's how you are nowadays, no? Drowning everything in booze.
I'm sorry.
No, I don't want anything to drink! Just...
I must have said that forcefully just by the use of Mrs. Wright's face. But why does she tear? It's not like we're friends. This is business. I'm either well enough to conduct it or not. Why would she pretend to be concerned when I'm simply a means to an end? Just seeing Miss Wright reminds me of too much of her. Maybe I'm starting to see her and hear her again when I shouldn't be. I've tried so hard to leave everything behind, forget them and move on. But that small touch in her voice and in my head have nearly sent me to the edge. In an instant, all of her memories comes flooding back in.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to snap at you like that. Just give me some breathing room, please. Please, give me a moment.
She doesn't respond, and just before the switch gets any more commentated, Mr. Wright comes in.
Good morning, ladies. What a wonderful morning it is, that I wake up to such a beautiful sight. I do hope you two are getting along. I smell pancakes. I do hope you two are considering a diet just so I can have them all to myself.
Don't be a pig, Luke. You eat all of those and you might stop fitting into your tight suits.
What? I'm not a pig. You don't think I'm a pig, do you, Marianne?
With his saucy smile and playful wink, I can't help but think you're a bit of a pit of whiskey.
I don't know, Mr. Wright. I'm an interior designer, not a zoologist.
The only styles she must be familiar with are statement of works.
Well, don't be a bore. You two might not be in a rush, but I'm going to go ahead and feast.
If you dawdle too long, he'll hog all the syrup.
Rich people are so eccentric.
Come on then, we can discuss business over food.
There's no denying the chance when they invite me over to the table. Though it's too personal to share a meal in their home, it would be terribly rude to deny the invitation. Oh, pancakes. Wonderful food. Side of pancakes did you to smell and heavy. A bowl of tortellini, fruit soups and jams and other spreads are laid out next to them, making for colorful arrangements. If this was a brunch with friends, I would have gladly helped myself to the whole thing. But as this, I accepted just a few pieces of pancakes and topped it off with lemon and sugar.
You know, I was a tiny bit serious when I said I wanted a helipad.
And And you're not serious about the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables.
Well, I do want those too, but I know you'll agree to those.
We're talking about interiors here, honey. You don't handle exterior designs and whatever handles those sorts of projects do you, Marianne?
I'm able, actually, and willing to take a project of that nature. I was an architect in Ireland before. Of course, that's another contract entirely. I also suggest we finish the house itself before working on any additions to the rest of the property. There won't be any problems about ownership this time, will there? Pardon if I'm crossing a line, but the acquisition was rather quick.
Oh, don't you worry. We've got everything sorted this time around. I've talked to Miss Cooper and Mr. John from BRC, as well as the old owners. Everything has been paid in full, and all we're waiting for is the paperwork from the land registry. They're letting us move in as soon as we please.
You met the original owners. We've been told we actually saw the original owners.
It's not like they were living there in the first place.
That's good to hear. The problems that could arise from renovating another person's home would be... well, let's not dwell on it. First off, we'll want to know how you want the place to look. It's pretty furnished as is, but I understand if you want to modernize the whole thing.
Actually, I'd prefer to keep the place looking as it is, but at the same time, I want modern appliances. You worked on the Ludgate's Christchurch summer residence. I do remember there being an oven I thought was a simple drawer before. Make them look vintage, antique, blended with the rest of the decor.
Customize appliances then. I can't find someone for that, and if you can't tell me what you specifically want, it'll hasten up the process. We're talking about electronic appliance manufacturers. If you have a preferred brand to work with.
Splendid! So, what is next on our agenda? All the other interior designers we've hired in the past did not have us this involved.
This is a bid. I wasn't spending so much conversation about the interior designs, but sure. I'll struggle for it. I stop. What sort of half-baked designer did that? If I knew who they were, I would have words. Isn't this time or the place all for it? However, instead, I use this brief pause to pull out the fill plans I brought.
We'll have to figure out what you want to do with the rooms. Here, we can have a quick run through.
What is that little room next to the master's bedroom?
Your room next to the master bedroom. Oh.
Oh, as far as I could tell when I saw it, it's a second bedroom of sorts. Used, apparently, for the ladies in waiting who has served Lady Charlotte Ermengarde, which is strange, as that isn't the norm for these sorts of houses.
Oh, okay.
Well, we're not stuffing Johans in there. He won't fit. You don't suppose we could turn it into a walk-in closet and a dressing room?
I love fashion, but do we really need to turn an entire room into a walk-in closet, dear? We'll have large closets and a wardrobe in the bedroom already.
Oh, stuff, yeah.
Says the one who takes 3/5 of our closet. Well, what do you suggest we do with it?
I thought a utility room of some sort would be nice. A craft room where I can do fun things. Or maybe a children's room might be nice. You know, for when Kylie comes over. Or if Rochelle visits once she's had a baby.
1, you are not inviting that witch. And 2, there's a whole mansion for Kylie to play in. We don't need a children's room, and you don't even do arts and crafts. I'd like to turn the guest's room and the study into my personal office, by the way, if you don't mind.
You can turn it into a personal office if I can have my utility room. It's just the one room of the many. I'm taking that room for myself, no matter what you say, dearie. So you might as well take this deal. You're always out doing business anyway. The real problem is the theatre. Whatever are we going to do with all that space?
Yeah.
Fine, we could turn it into our own personal cinema, I suppose. Might as well have it, if you plan on not having a telly in the parlor.
Yes, well, I don't want guests to be glued to the telly when they come over for a meal and some tea.
Fair enough.
By the looks of things, we can keep the rooms as what they are on the ground floor, though. The ballroom would be perfect for parties.
Do we really need a dining hall, though? I don't suppose we can't convert it into a garage.
This is a yacht of conversation about the signs.
What for? You can park your cars outside.
What about that room, right there, in the northwest corner?
Northwest. Which one?
That's sleeping quarters for the household help.
Oh, that is perfect! Johans will be glad if we have other staff members who stayed in. It'd be convenient so they don't have to make the trip from Luxbourne to the mansion when they're needed.
You'll definitely need a lot more people to maintain a property of this size.
The mansion is really a lot bigger than I thought. Look at all these rooms. I didn't even know there was a music room next to the parlor because of what happened.
There was a grand piano in there too, when we checked during the tour.
Did you hear that, Luke? Maybe you can take up playing the piano again.
Sorry, that transition was very twit. Okay.
Oh, you should have seen him when we were younger, Marianne.
It's not like I was very good with the thing.
Oh, hush you. You were no Mozart, but I loved hearing you play nonetheless.
No.
He'd come over to my home and he'd play such fun tunes. He'd sing too and I'd dance and it was just...
Mr. Wright's playing the piano, I can't imagine it. Then the owner's way in which Mr. Wright's at adds so to...
Anyway, what do you think of these plans, Marianne?
Are we not even going to consider one of my requests? Not even just a closet or just a garage?
A garage?
Now, that isn't fair, is it? You're not the only one who's going to be living here.
I hardly see how that's unfair. I told you you're getting your office and your theatre, the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables. That sounds fair, does it not, Marianne?
Interesting. Yes, it sounds fair. Nice. Miss Wright has a point, though. I don't really want to butt into the spat of a husband and wife, but with the way the two were using at me to settle this, I might as well just keep the facts instead of different options.
Mr. Wright, your plan isn't quite feasible from an architectural perspective. I'm not even sure how much we can do without closer inspection. Well, the one about the garage, at least. A walk-in closet is easy enough, but the garage?
See, a garage isn't architecturally feasible and it isn't going to be financially sound as well. We're already going to spend a lot on your other requests. You have several acres of land to park on already.
What? Did you calculate that on the fly? Financially sound my foot. You're probably just thinking up of imaginary numbers.
Might I remind you that I was a financial manager? I also looked over and approved the expenses of our other houses. I know the rough costs of these things by now, love. Masters in business administration, major in accounting. Sometimes I think you forget that I'm not as dumb as I act.
That catches my attention more than anything. It sounds more unbelievable than Whiskey playing the piano. She really didn't seem of the type.
Business administration and accounting? What university?
Lux upon you, of course. Go Lux Dragons, red and gold.
Excuse me, how about we move on this chit-chat ahead and do whatever else needs to be done sometime today? I had to cancel my appointments for this, you know. We might as well do a proper inspection with the designer this time, just to get it out of the way.
Yes, no time like the present. You want a thorough inspection? Might as well do it now. We actually took another look at the property yesterday, though it was brief. But I'm sure you would want to see it yourself, to spot anything we might have missed.
It's not that I have much of a choice, do I? Okay. Right into the Armadale Mansion in the Royce is an awkward affair. Not only am I worried about stuffing expensive leather seats, but I'm also worried about getting in the middle of another couple's spat. With the tension fit in the air, I can feel them staring at each other at any time. Nobody's saying anything. Oh, to Mr. Wright, DL tells his valet to turn the damn radio off. And for a moment, I think that he might start, but instead he just stays quiet, and so did the rest of us. In the end, the supple silence stays. I've never been so glad to see a house. Stepping out of the car up to the mansion meant the end of a comfortable ride, and then finally take a deep breath of fresh air. The beauty of the place never fails to make me daze and wonder every time I see it as well. Mrs. Wright moves towards the front door, keys in hand. I can already hear Mr. Wright.
All right, Hans, we're going to go in, but I want you to look around the place. Familiarize yourself with it. Know every nook and cranny, every inch of the lot. Go and see where we can put that vineyard and the other things we talked about. We'll want to know where to station security as well, so go around the perimeter and figure it out.
Scout the property and circle the perimeter on foot. You do know this is 46 acres of land, sir.
Well, you are not driving a car over the grass. Put those long, spidery legs of yours to good use. I didn't hire you to stand around and look intimidating. Go, mush.
Someday I would ask how Johannes can even stand and tolerate the man. Why doesn't he just twitch? Certainly the pay can't be that good. Even I'm a bit put off by our mutual employer, and anything that keeps me from boring is the fact that we've already signed a contract. At least I've already worked with them during the duration of the project. He works with them every day.
Sometimes I think you hired me to make me suffer for your amusement.
Someday I ask. I feel a bit bad for him. I suppose I do, but he attacked my dear boy Saturday. If there's any consolation, it'd be away from Mr. Wright, if only for a little while. We're able to enter the mansion after a bit of standing out there in the sun. This red, strange sunlight that is far too alien and rare. There have been a bit of a problem with the mooses not knowing of which to misses or which, whatever. The first sight, I can't say everything. Forgive me if I can't. So many words. First item on the agenda would be the grand staircase. It seemed as sturdy during the open house, but a close inspection might say otherwise. There are obvious marks of damage, nor wear nor tear, and probably refretted during the renovations. Peeling on the grand carpet, wood is properly installed with the bar placed down to prevent topping. The carpet itself to use a vacuum though. Structural traditions, from what I can see, without actually dismantling the thing, yet to be in good shape, and the handrails and support posts are fine. The work on what it should be commended. I can't get too much into the rest before I heard as Mr. Wright starts to hurry us into checking the dining hall.
So, what do you think? Certainly we can't turn this area into a garage.
It's Jacobean architecture. I'd say these would be pilasters and not buttresses, but you never really know. They really liked mixing up these elements. You could say it was pretty avant-garde at the time. We might hit a support beam if we're not careful.
And in layman's terms?
From what I see here, we could risk great damage to the house if we try to turn the dining hall into a garage.
The man didn't need 2 peas at this. There's a little disappointment before he sighs and looks around the place with an air of defeat. When he moves the speed, I dread another unreasonable demand and then.
This will stay a dining hall then. But if I may have another request instead, at least spruce the place up with some flowers, some plants or something. It feels so old and dead in here.
That's hardly unreasonable. Daffodils are a must, I presume.
The look that passes between the two of them, there's a genuine note of fondness there. This is the first time I've ever seen such a change between those two. Oh. If anyone are to see them like this, there's little doubt that they loved each other.
Of course. And I want a garden full of them.
Okay.
Now, if you excuse me, I'd like to look at the rest of the house. I'll just be around here downstairs, if anybody needs me.
Excuse Mrs. Wright and I.
He's quite fond of them, you know.
I can imagine. He looked terribly upset when we told him he can't have his garage.
I meant the daffodils. We always have a vase full of them in every house we own. Somewhere, I'd like to think. They may be about his mother. He never talks about her. I don't even know her name.
Oh, interesting.
He likes to flatter, claim that they remind him of me, but he's always loved the flowers, even before we married.
Much like the piano, I didn't take him for a person who likes flowers. Daffodils, yes of all. What's next? I'm identifying that Mrs. Wright saves kittens from a burning building?
I'll go and snoop about upstairs. You go and do whatever it is that you have to do.
When she goes without even asking if I need her there, I'm yet stand to stare at the walls. Really, I don't need to go through inspection of the building itself. It isn't really part of the interior design in this job. I reckon spooks are about to appear. But all the toucher in me is committed to doing this task for every project. If I'm going to make a given space that have both form and function, I might as well make sure that the entirety of it is safe for my clients. Since I'm already here, I roam around the dining hall to shed things off my punches, if you will. When it's time to move on, I hesitate. Mr. Wright said he would have been somewhere around here on the ground floor, but I really didn't want to be a young Wisty. Have to get around through the place eventually, sure, but on the other hand, I tend to do it later when he's done. I know upstairs first if I want to. First floor. Already seen enough of the fjord during the open house. Doors, I want to know just a convenience too, so I just don't want to be in the same room as Wisty as anytime soon. So I might as well go upstairs first. The banisters on the round staircase, I did not saw it in a proper height. In a year, they would be trouble. There's a small touch on the carpet, though, but as long as nobody tries to run down the stairs until it gets fixed, things should be alright. Oh, that's what happened to Isabella. And the stained glass art? Restored, no doubt, in the image of the ass Yedi and the Yord of Ermengarde, or was supposed to be until Yedi Charlotte's fiancé was brutally murdered. Oh, okay, she was... okay. By a witch of all things, from what I've heard. You think historians of this place would be a lot more scrutinizing and filtering out stuff like that? I'm amazed they bothered with it, instead of replacing it with some generic tooty-tatter design. This entire piece, Yone would have cost roughly 500 and even £1 million. Woo! Yet Shard Emadan and her beloved, the mosaic, is not too far to stretch the imagination to believe that the depicted images should be Mr. and Mrs. Wright. I know, right? She sees it. I see it. Vampires! It'd be easy to assume as such if one doesn't know the history of the mansion. Really, a place like this should be protected by the government as a landmark. But what can I do about it? Oh. Walked into the rest wing, I tried to go into the theatre, but it's met with an obstacle. Opposite of that is a yacht door. 2 doors, both of them are yacht. It'd be frustrating if I already hadn't snuffed off while the Wrights were having their little business meeting with Mrs. Tooper before to take a peek. With that, Mr. Wright wanted, we have to install a powerful projector, that type they use in cinemas and projection screens. The seats would have to be reupholstered if they're to be any more comfortable, and the walls would need to be covered in dark material, paint, wallpaper, or instill wall-to-wall carpeting. Really, of all the rooms I should be jealous of, it's this one. I should just picture myself in there watching old Ton Fu flicks on a Wheater in yon mouth, and makes me wonder what kind of movie Mrs. Farage would get. Rom-toms, perhaps? Husband of Hannah, rather not think about it. In the middle of my notation of plan, I didn't even realise that I'm not a Yone. Tom's taught stand in front of a yacht door.
Were you meaning to go in there? I'm afraid we won't be able to open it up today.
Oh well, I wanted to, but it's fine. I can still survey the rest of the place.
Apologies, but the key was missing when they were handed over. They told us that they'd get right back to us with it.
Interesting.
What? But aren't they supposed to hand over all the keys once property changes hands? That can be grounds to file a complaint.
They were already kind enough to let us move in so early. There's no need to raise a fuss about it. Worst comes to worst, we can call for a locksmith.
The air is heavy and somber when she grows quiet and glances out the window. Out towards the vast expanse that surrounded what would have been their house, their home. Then she looks back at me with a sigh and a bitter smile.
Flowers. Yellow flowers. Daffodils, dandelions, and sunflowers in the sort all up front. Just a whole garden of them. They'll make the house look lovely, won't they?
Of course. A garden is a wonderful addition to any home.
As I say this, her eyes roam over me, scrutinizing and thoughtful. I have heard back the shiver that threatens to run down my spine at being inspected so closely.
Yes, it must be nice.
We're still talking about the gardens, yes?
I mean not having to worry about what another person thinks of you.
What do you mean by that?
She lifts her hand and points to her wedding ring before it falls listeningly to her side.
Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I didn't marry Luke. There'll be no fights about walk-in closets or silly helipads. I could do with this place as my heart desires until there's nothing but content. Then again, I wouldn't have bought this place if it wasn't a gift for him. I probably wouldn't even be in Luxbourne if it wasn't for him.
Interesting.
Maybe I would have moved to London, Manchester, or Birmingham. I might have even left the country altogether. France, Germany, Spain, Canada, Sweden, even America. The possibilities would have been endless.
I don't know what to say to that. What is there to say?
I'm sorry, I must sound so petty and ungrateful. I do love him. So very much, even if he can be a bit difficult at times.
Oh no, not at all. I'm just confused why you're telling me this, of all people.
Just a whim, I think. Just flights of fancy, that's all. Don't you ever think about one decision you've made in your life and wonder how much would change if you chose to do things differently?
I try not to dwell on the past, ma'am.
The T word is try, of course. Thinking of the past brings up too many doses. Memories of her. I do wonder what would have changed if I said yes when she asked for me. Maybe she's still with me. I return the present, just as I said. I try not to dwell on the past. Why you decide on your own? You must have been quite the pair. What does that do? I can't tell. But that was not bad. Her worry seems simple enough. I mean, it doesn't have to be as difficult as she makes out to be, right?
Why don't you decide on your own?
I meant nothing against Mrs. Wright, of course, though Wisty bothered me to no end. By yours, she would have been the owner of the house. Well, and yes, they signed a joint property ownership anyway, which is a rare thing as far as I know, especially among these highbrow types. Sure that you'd actually have the spouse, I don't doubt the possibility, but money is money. It makes people do most horrible things sometimes.
It's your house. You can paint the whole place pink if you want, and there's not much he can do.
There's some expressions here changed to a yet of contempt.
I could, but we are husband and wife. Equal partners and married, Marianne, though I can see that you don't understand. This is his home as much as it is mine. I'm not going to go behind his back over a room. And how dare you suggest that?
No. How do I even taught her down without causing further offence? It's in my attempt to shape my own drama that I end up tripping right into theirs. Because really, I have no business meddling in their affairs or my clients, and yes, it's involved interior design or architecture. I do hate to see a good woman down.
That's not what I meant by it. I just mean that maybe you don't have to get the approval of your husband all the time. Or well, okay, fine. I know nothing about married life, Mrs. Wright. You're right about that. But I still think you're allowed your indulgences every now and then.
Of course, my former indulgence meant buying old 78 RPM county records of which I don't even dare use with my gramophone. Oh. For her, it should very well be buying the entire house.
That's just my take on it. A perfect relationship is as rare as hen's teeth. You got what you got. I mean, you're doing well enough without my advice. Sure, look it.
That yet to petite her somewhat. She's away and starts to favour the fjord side once more with a far away yet in her
Feel
eyes.
free to look around the rest of the house. Everything but the theatre should be open. Just call if there's need of me.
Of course, Mrs. Wright.
I really shouldn't have opened my big mouth in the first place. This sort of thing only gets me in trouble. Keep it clean, keep it simple, stay to business, that's it. Be professional. But I failed to do just that because of my pretty face. When she turns to you, she dances back to me before disappearing into the foyer. Looking out the window from there, she was standing. And I move on. I yearn with nothing but my thoughts of her.
Finally, some peace and quiet. Thought the old biddy would never leave.
Is okay. Is that a madness, this hearing things? I bet in it's stress, though I don't know what exactly I'm stressed about. If meeting Miss Wright has really thrown me for you, don't be worried. If I'm developing some sort of psychosis or disorder, well, I'll tell a doctor. But I hope it isn't that, not right here, not right now. I mean, it should just be that personal, talking credits, the Tonson, so it's just so displeased, and I'm only noticing now, though, if it is, it isn't very helpful. Pushing the DM of my voices in my head aside, I go back to work. But in bed, you made a few steps before everything tilts and shifts. I don't really stumble, but it feels like I'm being thrown on my feet, and the rest of the world just follows. Through my feet stay firmly on the ground, even though I stay mostly upright, I feel that I've been heaved and put off balance. I've closed my eyes in hopes of the wooing a sudden sense of further away, but when I open them... Oh, here we go. Well, I don't feel any sit because of the sight that greets me. Blood drip from the walls and seeing a pouring downwards, seeping into the curtains and the tar pits. A wave of nausea stronger than the ass hits me on with the overpowering stench of beyond and door. I want to bolt, the rational part of my brain is telling me to flee, and I would have already done as if asked, if only I didn't hear her.
In here, Marianne. Come on, I have something to show you.
Is this the same? No, my theory is right. This is the same dose, using dose of the past of people to trick them. I should have ignored it, would have ignored it, if only it heard in my head. But I swear this time, it's time for one of the rooms. much further into the study, and I feel compelled to pay attention. I can't just turn around and leave. Not when it's her. I only think as if for the sound of her voice. Oh. Urain. Yuffie, Amanda, Urain, Frana. I'm sorry, I have no idea how to pronounce it. She was my friend. That only one that I had at St. Samantha's. I was a stower, the charity taste, in a store for privileged and pretentious young girls. They all get down on me, if they dared to get on me or acknowledge my presence at all. All except her.
Oh, stop your crying. You know better than to listen to Maeve. Why, I ought to teach that butterface a lesson.
Wait, no, lass! I don't want you getting into trouble with the sisters again!
Relax. It's not like I'm going to stomp her and her lackey's arses flat like last time.
Come on, let's just go back to our dorm room. I don't want to be on my Tobler while you go get yourself punished.
LBS.
You'll be fine. Gip's there with you.
Urain was there when I needed her. Through my highs and lows. How knows a friend made being in a strange stool away from my father all more tolerable. She told us poor helpless Stowe he was stepped down and shunned by everyone else. And in the time so that she rescued me. So brave, so beautiful. She was something else.
I'll eat all the chocolates stashed away in your closet if you go.
I can get more. Just don't go complaining to me if you get a tummy ache because of that.
Well, you don't want to get detention on a weekend, do you? It's a Friday. We can go to town and have some karaoke. And we can have a go at druids and demons again.
Nice.
You're not going to miss that just because of Maeve, are you?
Sometimes I question what I did to deserve a friend like her. In the darkest corners of my mind, where treacherous thoughts lurked, so I thought that she only felt sorry for me. Maybe she's just being a good Samaritan, offering a helping hand. And perhaps I've been too selfish to overturn the favour.
You have a point. I'll just kick her arse on Monday then.
That's not what I mean!
I know what you mean, Em.
Wait, where are you going? You just told me you wouldn't cause trouble.
I still have something to do. Don't worry, it's not like I'm going to burn down her dorm room or something criminal like that. I'm just going to talk to her.
Okay.
Maybe I'll make it so that her room smells like a dog's air biscuit. That'll make it an excellent weekend. I'll see you in a bit, Marianne. Lots of tobblers.
That's a top. I know what that is, but it's all. It was when she told me that she loved me. I didn't admit that I felt the same way. Not to her, not even to myself. It was wrong, I was taught that way. Husband and wife, one man and woman. Unclean, impure. Oh, yes. I prayed for her and I for our sins and for salvation. I wanted to apologize for distorting her feelings so tirelessly. It must have been yet a slap to her face for her. But I got in the way. Exams, which were trivial in hindsight now, took top priority. Had to my grades up to do my scholarship for my father. I told myself I would apologize for her when those were over, that I needed to focus first and not let anything distract me. It'd have been easy when she avoided me at the parade. She was upset. I get that. But yeah. I thought I had time to make things right, but...
At 7 in the morning, students found a 5th year dead. Assumed to have fallen from her dormitory window.
They told us that it was an accident. That was the official statement. But I knew better. She was dead because of me.
Maeve had a hook and I kicked the bucket, didn't she? Ding dong, the witch is dead!
She had, though. She didn't say which, Urain.
But at least Maeve had the courage to admit how she felt about me.
I didn't even know how long I'd been stuck here in a trance. In the mirror, Urain smiles at me. She's as beautiful as I remember her. But then... I feel bar raise up my throat, and as her teen image wraps into how she looked at when she found her dead, lying on the cold, hard ground. God Saint Daimir? Great wonder water in every affliction of mind and body help me. I'm seeing things, I'm hearing things. Am I going to be insane? In everyone but her, I hope and pray that it's enough to will whatever this is to go away. It doesn't even immediately register in my head that it's just ye.
You, on the other hand, can't even look me in the eye.
This isn't real. You're not. You're dead!
I'm dead. Because of you. And you won't even look at me. Look at me.
Breathing twitters and feel my heart being torn apart by her words.
I'm so sorry, Lorraine.
Look at me!
I can't take it because she's right, it's my fault. The least I can do is just what I've done. Lorraine, broken, bleeding, looks at me with such hate-filled eyes. An unnatural smile stretched across her face, and I only see the malice in it. Then she understood me as the mirror ripples around her form, the gas parting at wee waters surface on for her. She drifts my shoulders, and I can feel her nails dead deep, sharp, even though through the fabric of my clothes.
There you are.
Oh. Whoa, whoa, whoa!
You're coming with me.
Continue. Oh, I never tried this again. Oh, it's moved the string. It's moved the string.
You're coming with me. Why don't you love me?
Apologies spilled from my lips as tears clouded my vision. But I won't give in to this madness. With every bit of strength I have left, I struggle to get away from her. Fear drips and threatens to choke me. I endure, I escape, but I turn about and stumble back out. Not sure what's happened. In my panic, I don't even dare to use what I'm doing. With one hand on the wall to study me, I just hobble as fast as I can get away from the study. Away from that mirror. Freedom is bittersweet, and free from the madness that seems as running out the hallway feels to be in a pristine condition. But it means that I have turned my back on Urania Den. I have no plans to stop it, not until I know I'm safe. If that means one battle yard spent as ridiculous as the idea is, then so be it. Someone suddenly grabs hold of me, however. The thing that's digging deep into my shoulder, my heart nearly stops. My body ceases and I nearly scream.
Marianne, you look awful. I mean, not awful, but...
So is this dose affecting all of them at the same time?
Did something happen? Are you alright?
This is right.
Oh. Without thinking, I saw comfort seeing that it wasn't her. It's such an impulsive thing to do, and I have been in a better condition. I wouldn't even dare of doing such a thing. But I didn't know what else to do. Do I know I shouldn't? Her warmth has sent they drowned in me. She isn't toxic.
Marianne, what's going on? Oh, you're shaking like a leaf.
Tremors run through my body as soon as my mind realizes I'm no longer in danger. I want to try to dream of what I've seen, but yet a scared child, I tend to control myself. Mind and reconcile what I've seen. I should just write it off as a figment of my imagination, yet I can still feel her nails touching my skin.
Are you sick? Should I call for a doctor?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Wright. Just feeling a little woozy and lightheaded is all.
Let's get you somewhere to sit down then.
Aye. But as a whole, yes, Tommy didn't tell her that I was attacked by a dead girl. When the feeling of fear eases off, I feel nothing but a shame of my actions. I twitty back away as I clear my throat and nod to my
I think
face.
I've had enough looking around. If it's all right with you and Mr. Wright, I'll meet you outside.
If you're sure, I'll have the car started. Do you need assistance heading downstairs?
I'm all right, ma'am. Just go on ahead and I'll be right there.
Seems to protect her worries, though only for a brief second. Before she heads down, I don't miss the concerned glance she shoots my way, hidden twitty under another smile. I won't begrudge her for it, that worry. Even my face must have been strange enough sight on its own. Even I am still reviewing from whatever that was. A voice who whispers in my ears. After all these years, she's still... No, Marianne. Shading my head for thoughts I dragged into breath and fall shortly after Mrs. Wright. Whatever has happened in the past is yawned on, only memories now. And those are the things I know to bring back. Oh. Relationship change. Slowly dart as we meet our way out of the mansion. With no yards, we are illuminated by the head yams of the right tower and the stars above us. The sight of them helps me to compose myself much more than the several minutes of being alone did. The tower engine is running, yet the two still stand out from the yawn. Mr. Wright is busy, eyes up the stars. Mr. Right arms crossed with his own eyes down to the ground. In the trunks of grass under my heels, it brings their attention to me.
About time. What took you so long? A minute longer and I'd think the house swallowed you all up.
Oh, hush, dear. I'm sure she has her reasons. Marianne doesn't seem the sort to idle.
Sorry, I was just checking on something important.
See, business is business and they take time, love.
Oh, Hannah didn't want to inform anything of what has happened.
You should know that better than anyone. So, Marianne, what do you think? Are you the woman for the job? I know we already signed papers hiring you, but I want to be 100% sure that you are committed.
I glanced back towards the mansion, knowing of what I've seen there. Or rather, who I thought I saw there, because there's just no way. Not to mention how I acted towards Miss Wright, for goodness sake. As it feel the slightest bit of hesitant, I was yachting. I've seen enough films to know what happens when a promiscuous woman enters a haunted house. This is my chance to turn it down, make the stew say that I'm not up for the task, that I need to take care of my old sick father, just to pay the fine, which is probably outrageous for the contract like this and yet a dough. I should turn it down. But for some obstinate reason, I can't. In the same manner, I haven't yet dough of her, of the regret that has shadowed me since the day. As I hate to admit it, even to myself, see now again, the mischievous glint in her eyes and the used tendrils of her hair told around her forehead. It's something I've terribly missed, and now that it's here, almost within reach, my father would tell me, sometimes you just simply have to go through it with it. Consequences be damned. And while I really didn't have any logical reason to say no, at least not something a child of the rights would want to hear from a professional designer.
It's certainly an interesting project. You can be sure I'm seeing it through the end.
Such dedication! Oh, I do love the determination.
You were always determined like that, weren't you?
Hearing her voice once again sends a chill running down my back. I turn and wait for this day to be over. Okay. That was that. We admit more about Marianne's backstory. A very sweet but tragic childhood story. Yes, sir. And I frankly think that the dose is just literally using their own fears just to manipulate him and get them closer to our churches. Only those who have your someone, or a tragedy has occurred, she finds it and corrupts it to kill them all. But what is her end game? I don't know. But based on that one still frame we saw last time, she's taking revenge. It's obviously just something happened to her in a very bad way. She's taking revenge on why them? Who knows? Maybe she thinks that they were the previous people, due to how Hannah and Yut similar to her parents? Or whoever it is in relation to the dose. But yeah. I hope you have fun. And I'll see you soon with another Yetta. How did one? And farewell.